Hello everybody and welcome to this video. My name is Newbrook and I am here on behalf of Digital Ace to discuss with you different approaches for hybrid sessions whereby tutors are teaching both people online and on-site in the classroom. This is the complimentary video to supplement the session that was run on the 23rd of June, so it will have a lot of the similar content in there from the session, but with extra content added by the participants who were there on the day as well. So before I go any further, you can access the slides that I'm showing you today using that link on the left, or alternatively, if you have a device that has a camera function, you can hold the camera to the screen and use the QR code as well to access those slides that way as well. You'll see a lot of QR codes within this presentation. Okay, so the purpose of the session is to explore different hybrid delivery models and identify which one may be the most relevant to your delivery or which few. We will be discussing experience and sharing best practice, and hopefully we'll be testing out some resources that will help us interact with both online and in-class learners at the same time. I'll be demonstrating a few different ways that we do that using the screen share. Before I start, a little bit about myself. I've worked for Gateshead Council Learning Skills as Quality and Business Improvement Lead since last January 2020. What Learning Skills do is we are part of Gateshead Council. We deliver adult and community learning, further education, LDD and SEND provision, youth education and skills, family learning, vocational learning, functional skills, and ESOL. So we've got quite a wide remit in terms of what we deliver. We are the second largest local authority provider of apprenticeships in the UK. And we developed our digital skills strategy in 2018 to encourage our tutors to include digital and online content in their courses. However, as most providers as well, I think the vast majority of our learning development has happened since March 2020, since the first lockdown due to COVID-19. Last year, when the first lockdown happened, we created and ran over 100 courses using Google Classroom, which is our virtual learning environment. And we're able to maintain a lot of our engagement with our learners as a result. And since September 2020, so the beginning of this academic year, we've incorporated hybrid delivery models with many of our courses, and this has helped us to continue to engage those learners as well. This session that I'm presenting you today will be used as a basis for of our experience. So what you'll see is what I'll be discussing with you today is what we've discovered since September last year. Before we start, key terms. These are key terms that have been used quite a lot since last year, especially. Hybrid learning, which is teaching in person and remotely at the same time, having learners on screen and having them in the classroom. Blended learning is a tool. It's using a combination of traditional in-person and online learning tools and strategies. So that might be, for example, teaching learners in a classroom, but then giving them work to do online outside the classroom to supplement the actual work they're doing in the class. We have synchronous learning, which is when teaching and learning occurs together simultaneously. So the teacher is teaching and learners learning at the same time. Or asynchronous learning, which learners access learning content at different times and work through at their own pace. So that might be creating a resource online that learners access at their own time, possibly homework, for example, and then complete it and send it back. What we'll be looking at today specifically is hybrid synchronous learning, so teaching in person at the same time at simultaneously, which is quite tricky. We've discovered if you're new to it, it can be challenging. I think one of the biggest challenges we found, which I'll go through in a bit, is having learners on a screen somewhere and in your classroom and having to alternate between your attention between those online and those in the class. And I think some of the best ways we can do it is try to find ways that we can almost bring the resources that we use and the strategies that we use together, so that we're working with all learners at the same time. And I'll show you some ideas how we can do that in just one moment. Now, I kept this slide in from the session on the 23rd to show you an example of a slide that we would normally put in a hybrid lesson. Now, as educators, we will all often have a slide in our presentations that look like this. What do you want to get it from today? Now, what we do is at Learning Skills quite a lot is we try and make our sessions, the content similar, whether you're online or offline, resources the same. So you might find if I was teaching this in a live classroom, I'd have learners in front of me and online. Screen share would be what you see on in front of you, and my learners in the class would be able to get their phones, scan the QR code, whereas the learners outside the classroom online can click on the link. And what that is, quite simply, it's what we call a Jamboard. Now, I'll show you what the Jamboard looks like if you've never seen one before. So whether you're online or in the class, you scan, and you get what is basically it's a Google service, and it is quite simply it's basically a virtual flip chart paper. So what you can do, and you can see many of the people who were here on the live session commented on things they would get from that session. But what you can do is you can use this with learners either on the phone in the classroom in front of you, or on a Chromebook or a laptop or anything, or an iPad, anything with a camera on, can access this. Click on a sticky note and type in here. And then that creates a sticky note that they can then put down. Now, what's good about this is that if you get the learners to scan QR codes in the class off the board, and also get them to do this online, you're using the same resource, so learners can basically see what each other are writing, create this together, without having two separate sets of resources. You can alternatively have learners online use this format and have learners in the classroom use a traditional flip chart paper, or to do this, but this just brings it all together. Now, what I'll do before I go any further is just show you how I've created this as well. Quite simply, Jamboard is a service you can use through Google. It's free of charge. If you're on Google's homepage, you click on the 9 dots in the corner, go down to Jamboard, and you'll see it'll load up. These are some of the recent jams I've used. But what we're looking for is the plus in the corner. You click on that, and that will take you to a blank page. Like so. So you plan this in advance, so you've got it ready. It's a blank page, and from there you can use sticky notes like we did earlier. Alternatively, if you've got a touch screen, you can use a pen, or you can use it on the screen as well. Learners can also do this if they've got a touchscreen device. If you share this with them, they can do that as well. A lot of our staff are using Jamboards as a replacement for smartboard software, so you can use this and people can see it at the same time. If you want to share with your learners, this button here is the top, which says private to only me. You click on that. You would where it says get link. You would change the link here to, first of all, that's my organization. We'll change it to anyone who's got the link can use it. And we'll change that from viewer to editor. That would mean that anyone who's got this link here can access this Jamboard, and it's as simple as that. You can do quite a few things with it. You can add images to it as well if you wanted to. You can give this as a task that learners can collaborate and create a poster, for example, have a few of them. It can be quite innovative. If you feel actually what you may have noticed before is I put a QR code as well, you weren't sure how to do that. It's really quite simple actually. If you have a link, so the link I've created for this Jamboard that I've just made, this link here, if you're using Google Chrome, you can actually click on the web address, and this little square here with the 4 squares in, click on it, and it gives you the QR code. You can download that and upload it to your PowerPoint or your slides. If you're using Microsoft Edge, you can do the same thing. It's exactly the same. So if I open Microsoft Edge, it's exactly the same thing. Click on there, and there should be a box there which would give you the QR code as well. So it's an easier way of ensuring that your resources are both are accessible online and in the classroom at the same time. So feel free to try it. I'd do it while you're watching the video. I'm happy for you to try it out. It's there. You can scan it. That's just a little bit of information explaining what I've just said, really, as well. if you're interested in doing this, by all means follow the instructions on the slides, and and if you need support again, you can speak to myself. My email address will be at the end of this presentation. Again, quick tip. I've just explained that to you as well. The way to get QR codes on any site that you wish, simply go to the address bar in Google Chrome. Alternatively, in Edge, you can do the same thing. It might not be available on Edge, and if it's not, what you can do is type in this here. And if you type in this into your URL, your address bar at the top, you've got the option to turn QR codes on, and then you'll be able to use it. Okay, so that was a little tip for you. What we're going to look at now is some different hybrid learning delivery models. So these are some of the models what we've either practiced or researched while we've been finding out the best way of doing this, and for our organisation. We'll go over a few of them, and we'll see which ones may be more suitable for you watching this remotely. As you know, this is just a little introduction. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced many of us to reevaluate how we deliver teaching and learning. I think this has been the biggest year of change in my teaching career, definitely. And we've had to change how we've done pretty much most things, and I think most resources that we've used, we've had to find ways of being able to adjust those to deliver those online and at home, or remote learning, remote working, all of that. It's been a huge challenge, and I think with our organisation, we've tried a few different models. These are some of the ones that we've come up with that may be relevant to the way you may work as well. The first model, this one here, is just models everyone on a device, otherwise known as the one-to-one model. So what you have is you have a teacher with a device. I imagine this has got a camera on there as well, and she is delivering the session to learners in the class who've all got devices and can all see your video conference software, whether that's Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or one of the many other providers. You've also got learners connecting from home on their own devices. Again, basically it ensures that every single person can see every single person. The teacher can see everyone. It also means that your resources can be consistent. You can create resources online that everyone in the class and outside the class can use, such as the one that I showed earlier with the Jamboard. You can create resources that everyone can access and collaborate. The biggest issue with this one is one of audio. If you have lots of people connecting to a video conference in the same room, you'll probably find that audio will be an issue. You'll hear feedback. It doesn't sound very nice. You would have to make sure that each learner would turn both the microphones and the volume down on the device, and only use the teacher's device for volume, which can sometimes just be a subject to be aware of. The alternative model 2 is similar. You have teacher with a camera, another camera facing all of the learners, so that the people at home can see the learning environment, and you've got again each learner at home with their own device. You would imagine here that the teacher would have a smart board behind her, with whatever's screen shared on the screen behind, and each learner can see that as well. I think there's a number of benefits for that. Obviously, you don't need as many devices. One of the restrictions I would find with that one is sometimes the learners at home can't always hear the learners in the class, and you have to think about how you would compensate for that. And also you may have to plan resources separately, differently as well. For example, flip chart paper in the classroom and a Jamboard or digital alternative online as well. So it could almost be extra planning, but it's possibly a very reasonable model if you do adopt it. Model 3 is 2 groups, 2 rooms, 2 devices. So you've got 2 rooms. You may have 2 classrooms in your building. You can't fit everyone in due to social distancing. So you have one device and camera facing half your learners, another device facing another half your learners in a different room. We've used this model often when we have things like partnering classes. We may have 2 studios. The teacher can see both groups. Sometimes conversations can be a little tricky. You have to manage them quite well, because obviously you have two groups of people on the teacher's not present in one of those rooms. So it does involve quite a bit of behavior management and classroom management in order for this to work. Finally, model 4, which is the hardest, which is two groups, devices versus none. So you've got in one class, everyone's on a device, the other class, no one is, but they're in two rooms. For me, this is quite a challenging setup. It prevents a level playing field because the virtual delegates don't have access to a device, whereas the other ones do. Basically, this would be very useful though for possibly discussion-based tasks, as you would have to have everyone, the people on the camera discussing, or opting to answer questions, anything to do with practical sessions, or possibly worksheet based sessions, that sort of thing, might be challenging in this sort of setup. But they're the four main setups that we've seen when we've been doing this. I've put a little task for you. You can do it while you're on the video if you wish. You can look at the four models again using the Jamboard, and if you wish, you can either scan again, use the QR code to scan this in if you wish to do it on your device. It will be, you can do it. You can try it out. What you'll get when you scan that QR code is this here. And again, I've got lots of post-it notes. You can have a little read of what people have said as well. But what you can do is simply put a post-it, a sticky note on whichever device, model you think would work for you, and say why. And again, I check this periodically as well to see what people are saying. So it'll be interesting to see how you feel. And again, we've got some people there. A lot of people have said that 1 and 2 would probably be more beneficial for the way they actually set up their learning. I personally use 1 quite a lot where I can, as I think it having all the resources matched across the learners makes it easier for me. Or 2 possibly as well, where I've got some learners in the class maybe doing projects, others on the online doing similar projects as well. So yes, have a little. You can feel free to check that out. Okay, what I'll do is I'm going to go through a little bit about our approach. I have hinted upon that so far in the video, but just to give you a bit more of a sort of context. We've had more success using models 1 and 2. Model 1 is, for me, the one that shows the most level playing field. Sometimes we may not have devices to have one-to-one, so we often encourage learners where they can't use mobile phones, possibly because the resources work on mobile phones, and use the QR codes to complete those tasks. Obviously, you can't do that with every task. We found that, but definitely a lot of tasks like the ones I've been presenting to you today will definitely work. Wherever possible, we try and use resources that can be accessed at home and online at the same time, just to save on planning. So things like screen sharing and video call software, like what I'm doing with you now. Jamboard as a virtual whiteboard or virtual flip chart paper, again, which we've been going through. Using tools such as Google Docs for collaborative projects. Google Docs and Microsoft OneDrive allow you to more than one person to connect to a document at the same time and type. So you can do collaborative projects for that. Learners can be together with that and actually create either a joint presentation or a joint speech, or a joint piece of work together, a table, etc. Together, and you can have those learners working online and offline, the ones in the class and online working together using those tools as well. Questions and answers on Google Slides. You can actually add a Q&A section to your slideshows, which allows learners to ask those questions as well. Or Google Forms and Microsoft Forms as well allow you to, if you have them, you can do the same thing with the Jamboard. Have learners answer questions on an online form, and you can bring all your results together in one place. So a little bit of an interesting take on this. One of our maths teachers used this format a few months ago, looking at measuring angles. What they were able to do was do a Google image search, and when they did that, they did the Google image search the protractors, and were able to create a virtual session using the same resources. I'll show you what it looks like. I mean, you've got to give you an idea. So what we've got is the learners were able to take a protractor, and because they are transparent, we were able to measure the angles very similarly to what they could do in the classroom as well, using the same sort of tools. So they could measure each of these angles, move them about, and this wasn't too difficult to do. What we could do here and how it was done, and you can do the same with rulers with lines of best fit as well. How this was done was in Google, type in the word images, and then go to tools where it says color, change that to transparent, and you could take a protractor, you could copy the image, and you could put it into your V, paste it. It's just thinking about it, and there you go. And you can use that protractor in your work there as well. That's just an interesting way you can actually use, and that there was no difference in terms of functionality between those using this in the classroom with real plastic protractors and using this online. Same angle, same worksheet, just done at the same time separately. Um, One quick tip as well is often using forms as a worksheet, and this is basically what we would do. Again, similar sort of practice. You could create a form online, and you could use this with your digital learners, the virtual ones online, and also the ones in the classroom, scanning QR codes, etc. A way to do that is quite simply, again, I can very quickly show you. Go to Google, go to the 9 dots at the top corner, look for Google Forms, which is the purple icon there. You could create a blank quiz. Blank quizzes at once very, very good. Call it what you want. Why not? And what you've got, quite simply, is a number of questions you can create here. You can do multiple choice questions. You can do short answer, paragraphs, drop downs, quite a lot of different choices. We'll just use a multiple choice for now. So we'll call it, we'll say question one. What color is a banana? Is it blue, green, yellow? Add order if you want, but you don't have to. So there we go. What color is banana? There we go. Multiple choice question. Now we want to make sure all our learners can answer that question. So we'll say it's required. And we'll add another question as well, because why not? What color is okay? So you've got two questions there. What you can do is one of the benefits of using this is if you're doing multiple choice questions or single word answer questions, you can create an answer key. Click on answer key, and then you pick the right answer. So that there is the right answer. There we go. And that there is also the right answer as well. So once you've got the right answer, the answer key, click done, and it will mean that done there as well. That when a learner answers this form, they will automatically get it, totally got it right or they've got it wrong when they complete the form. You could add additional questions as well. So we'll change that to a short answer. Um, name one Greek fruit. You can have learners answer there as well. When you're happy with the form and you think yes, we've got this, you can go to basically send. You can send it via an email, or you can create a link, which how I would do it as I would create the link. Copy that and put it in your PowerPoint or your Google slide or whatever it is that you use. Um, Again, once you did that, you could also get a QR code, add that to it as well, and you've got a resource that you can use in the class and outside the class. What the learners will see when they go on it, they will see this. This is how it looks. They can fill it in. So what color is banana? I think banana is yellow. I think strawberry is blue. So at that, and you can view your score as well. It turns out that actually got one wrong, one right. That one hasn't been marked. You may have to manually mark those. You can have it put an answer key and where you can put green fruit in there and they will get it right. But it's very challenging because sometimes if it's misspelt, it marks it wrong when it could be correct. What you can also do, what is beneficial to this, is that if you go back to the uh, your page, you can put the responses. You can see the average, the analytics of all the questions that are answered. You can use that as part of your PowerPoint. You can bring this up on your lesson, and learners can work out who's how many people have got it right, how many people haven't, um, based on the answers as well. So you can have a little bit of a discussion about different answers, all based on their answers. And this can be online and offline at the same time during your video conferencing. So I'm going to cover some challenges raised by our teams. I think it's only fair when I prepared for this session, I spoke to many different colleagues about what they do with the hybrid learning, and they've given me a number of challenges, but also recommendations as well. So for the rest of the session, I'm going to quickly go through some of the challenges and some of the recommendations as well. The challenges were quite often around classroom management. One of the problems that many of our teachers found was that learners were online and not doing anything. So the suggestion they gave was consider things like quizzes, spontaneous questions, things that the resources and the learners can work on while the teacher is going around the learners within the class. Sometimes it can be hard to monitor everyone at once with some online and some offline. Again, things like using things like Google Docs or Jamboards or collaborative tools online can help learners show the workings online while the teacher or the teaching assistant is working around the classroom. One of the biggest uh, challenges that we get quite often and often when we do sessions or anything is with intermittent internet, when the internet goes off. And best advice, always have a plan B or a plan C. Prepare tasks that learners can complete in case of a drop connection. Um, if you have a data plan on your phone or your tablet, you may be able to tether the wireless connection. I've done that before when I've been in remote uh, community centres, etc., delivering, and I've been on a laptop and the laptop the internet's cut off. I've used my phone to be able to tether and connect my mobile phone wireless in order to keep that connection. In some cases, though, you will ultimately have issues where you may lose your online learners. Don't stress. Whatever you do, if you lose your online learners, if you the worst thing you can do is panic, and then all of a sudden you ruin the lesson for the inside in class learners and outside learners at the same time. Those learners will fully understand if you just catch up with them via email after the session, explain what went wrong, give them the work, or to complete outside the classroom as well. And most learners will understand technical difficulties like that. Another challenge is ensuring everyone can hear in the audio. So it might be that learners connecting online can't hear contributions from learners in the class. You may need to paraphrase the learners' contributions or encourage text chat to ask questions as well. Possibly using the chat functionality on Google Slides or Zoom or Google Meet or Teams or what have you, in order to use that as a consistent way of communicating. And again, as mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that if more than one person's using a video conferencing tool in the same classroom, in the same room, make sure they mute their mics and turn the volume down. Otherwise, you'll hear quite a lot of feedback. And have a teacher's device with the volume turned up so learners can actually hear those connecting remotely. Some suggestions that we had from our participants when we did this are the live sessions. These are not tested by me. I don't have any uh, experience with these just yet, but a few things that other people have brought up saying that they could actually be beneficial. One was the what someone called the meeting owl cameras, which are quite simply owl labs produce a camera. It looks a bit like an owl, and I believe what it does, it moves, it rotates to whoever's talking. So if you're in a classroom, that it will actually pick up and it will actually move. It will face whoever's talking as well. Um, They are, they're specifically designed for meetings as well. It's Feel free to have a look at that. A company called Asus as well do a specific Google Meet kit, which again is a very, very useful kit, um, which is a Google Meet, which is one of the video conferencing tools. It's a box that has a digital camera packaged with it that gives you a really, there you go, 4K UHD camera, with a large field of view, and also a microphone that picks up the room as well. So there are a number of products that you can actually use when doing this. The OBS project is another one that was discussed in one of our sessions, which is and again, I haven't used this before, but it's a project that allows you to, it's a free to download studio that allows you to manage more than one camera at the same time. So if you have, for example, a camera on streaming yourself delivering, plus one on the learners, or I know we have instances where we have cookery classes where one camera will be on the pan that that's preparing, that's the food's being prepared on, another camera on the tutor. You can actually use this product apparently to be able to to stream several different images at once. So there's a few suggestions from our participants as well. A couple of suggestions from us, from our team. We've got 9 tips for successful delivery, hybrid delivery. Firstly, is be aware of where you're positioned. Sometimes, obviously, if you've got a camera facing you, online learners may not be able to see you if you move away from your desk. Some teachers avoid using a smart board, instead use the digital smart boards such as Jamboards or Google Docs. So, for example, on a device and screen share like I'm doing today. Prepare your equipment. If you plan on using multiple cameras or having a webcam to face one learner and another one to face the teacher, or using a headset or microphone, however you prepare your equipment, make sure you plan it in advance. I can't recommend enough trying a trial run with colleagues before you attempt it. So have a few colleagues in your staff rooms connecting via Teams or Meet or Zoom. Go in the classroom with a few others in the classroom and see if you can actually test this, see if it actually works. The more testing you do, the more you'll iron out any issues before the actual session. Plan for your learners' contributions. Plan to ensure that that people don't talk over each other. Most online video conferencing features have a hand raising functionality. Get learners used to using that both in the class and outside the class. Learners, I know it may be quite an old-fashioned way of teaching, but have learners raise the hand when they when they want to answer a question. That way you can keep that consistent with those doing it online as well. Be consistent with your approach. I think one of the temptations, especially when this is quite new, is to try to use everything, and every video conferencing tool, every different types of virtual learning environment, just because there's so much out there. If you do that, you might have your learners use flit from place to place. It may be disengaging. Try to keep to the same resources where you can. So, for example, if you're using Zoom, use Zoom every week. Unless there's a real reason to change. Likewise, Google Meet or Teams or whatever video conferencing tool you're using. Same goes to the virtual learning environment. Try and keep it all in the same place. Otherwise, learners if they've got to use too many systems, and yourself, if you've got to use too many systems, you may disengage. Prepare your learners as well. Remind the ones inside the class to speak up so that the ones at home can hear, or vice versa. You may need to revisit those expectations in your class contract, or your group contracts that you may prepare. And use pedagogies and resources that can be used consistently, learners inside and out of the classroom. So things like flip learning techniques, where you ask learners to investigate something prior to the session, and then have them deliver that within the session, so that it's discussion based, etc. Use things like Jamboards we discussed today for group poster or flip chart tasks, forms as worksheets, and screen sharing your slides. All these techniques that I've been going through today can be used quite successfully. Try and use resources that can be used from home. Microsoft Word and Excel, not all learners have access to Word and Excel as they are paid for products. You may have licenses to provide to your learners, but if not, try and use online uh, or free online alternatives. Google Docs and Google Sheets are free online resources that you can use from any PC. Um, Try and use the resources that can be viewed within a browser, so learners don't have to install or purchase additional products. Um, Consider sharing links with QR codes like I've done earlier today, so learners can access those same links in person and online as well. Um, Number 8, make efforts to get everyone involved. When you're connecting online and someone may be isolated or they may not be, they may not be able to come into the classroom, they don't have the same opportunities naturally to speak to those in the class as they would have if they were, meeting outside the classroom and in the corridors or making cups of tea, during break times, etc. So try and build it into your sessions. Try and build a little bit of chat and a bit of rapport between learners, just as an icebreaker at the beginning of your session, just to help that. Finally, wherever you can, try and record the session with the learner's permission, just so they can watch back. It's good to have it's handy to have that, that video for learners to be able to watch and remember and recall what learning content was on in that session, and uploading all the resources to a virtual learning environment as well, so learners can access, the PowerPoints or your slides or your resources at the end of the session also. Again, because I'm obsessed with these QR codes, um, typical slide I would normally have one of my sessions. Let's look back at the purpose of the session. And again, it's simply your typical session there, session content there, where you can again click on the Jamboard link. You can scan the QR code if you wish, and if you want, it'd be very good if you were to put a, a sticky note on this here. But one thing you could take away from what you've learned today in this video. I'll put that up again. So you've got the QR code there. You can scan that using your phone, your tablet, or any device with a camera. By the way, you do not need a QR code app to access QR codes on your phone. You can use the iPhones and Android phones, etc. The camera app on your phone should be able to recognize a QR code and take you to the link. So you shouldn't have to install additional software. It's now built in. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for participating. If you have any questions, my email address is on the screen there. I am happy to answer any questions about anything that you've heard me discuss today. Likewise, you have some contact details on the left there as well for any information from Horlex who are providing the service as well. And I wish you all the best in your hybrid delivery. Again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.